Are you betting on yourself? Do you know if you're a good bet? Stay tuned to learn more. Hi, Shannon Waller here, and welcome to Team Success. Today, what I want to talk about is you betting on you. And this whole betting on yourself concept came out of the last book that I've been doing with Dan, which is called American Happiness. It comes out in December of 2021. I cannot wait for you to read it. It's going to be fascinating. But this whole idea of betting on yourself is one of the key tenets of the book, because actually that's what the country's doing, but you have to do that too. So one of the lines that I came up with, and I said, entrepreneurs bet on themselves and they want to be able to bet on their team as well. And it's interesting because I hadn't really, this whole betting on yourself, basically, taking a risk, but knowing yourself well enough to know what's a good investment, what's a good bet and what isn't, is really what this is all about. To me, it's really important because we're in an environment, we're in a society, especially in North America, but certainly other countries around the world too, where if you actually take a risk on yourself, the payoffs are huge. There are tons of places in the world where this is a really bad idea, but we have the advantage in our societies to really take full advantage, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people play the scarcity game. They play the entitlement game. They don't play the contribution game. So I want us to be really focusing on how can we contribute our very best talents, skills, capabilities, mindsets to the places that will have the biggest impact. And this actually will lead into my next podcast, so stay tuned. But let's make sure we're focusing on how to bet on yourself, because I think that's a really important point. And it's one that at least I have never heard talked about before. Like, what makes a good bet on yourself? How do you know that? So how can you actually take action, and how does this play out? And I think it's critical that, first of all, there's two main steps that I know of in terms of how to really know yourself to know what's a really good bet. Before I go into how you can do this for yourself, I want to share an experience of what happened with me one time. So this was a number of years ago, like quite a number of years ago, where I learned the value of betting on myself. And I had the advantage of doing the Kolbe profile. And the Kolbe profile measures your striving instincts, how you take action. It's very, very accurate, which I love. I've been certified now for 26 years. But what happened was I was working with a strategic coach and I was getting a little restless and bored doing sales. And so I decided to sign up for a training course, training and design certificate actually through Ryerson. And one of my clients and friends was teaching there. So I ended up taking one of her courses, and this course is what it happened in. And I had come up with the idea for what is now basically our Team Tools workshop. But this was a very, very, very early version of it. The assignment was to actually come up with the idea for a training program. Makes sense in a training certificate. That's what I should be doing, design program. I had come up with the idea, but the people in the course were all HR managers, every single one of them except for me. I was someone who was selling the strategic coach program at the time. So my teacher was great. I had the idea for the team programs, but I didn't know how to present it. I had absolutely no idea. There are 2 nights where people were giving their presentations. Everyone's walking up with their beautiful foam board, their charts, their graphs, their ideas, all in color. I mean, I'm talking gorgeous, beautifully prepared, done on their big corporate printers, who knows? And I had nothing in my hands. So finally, it's the second day and she goes, okay, Shannon, your turn. And I am literally sitting in my seat going, oh no, what am I going to do? So I stand up and I walk to the front of the room and I am going, oh blank, oh blank, oh blank, as you can imagine. And I suddenly had this flash of information as I got to the front of the room. I turned around and I said, you're all entrepreneurs making over $100,000 a year. With that sentence, I had their complete and rapt attention. And then I sold them what is now the Strategic Coach Team Program for their teams. It went well, and I was convincing, and I knew what I wanted because I wanted to close the gap between what clients were learning in Strategic Coach and what their team was experiencing. And I wanted to kind of create value for both people and help them work better together. It was fascinating. So I walked back. I knew that the presentation had gone at least okay. And then I think I got an A- or something, which was kind of miraculous. And the only comment was, would have been great to have handouts. And I was like, no kidding. Of course, it would have been great to have handouts. Then, you compare that with my Colby profile. So this is 3 fact finder, 2 follow through, 9 quick start, 5 implementer. So in that moment, I really came to trust my 9 quick start. Now, do I want to put it to the test like that all the time? Frankly, no. It was slightly terrifying. Definitely took some courage to do that. But I learned in that moment that I could bet on myself. Now, I also have done some things like working in a law firm where it was a ton of administrative stuff, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, filing. And I was just about ready to pass out by 2:00 in the afternoon. So I knew not to bet on myself in those circumstances. So if you look back, this is kind of how I want you to take action on this, is I want everyone to look back, whether or not you own the company, you work with the company, whatever your role is, reflect back and go, okay, where when I bet on myself did it pay off and where did it not? And this is really, really important. And even if you haven't done a single profile, which if you're listening to me, I don't know how that's actually possible because I'm a fan, but this is why I'm a fan. It allows you to know how to successfully bet on yourself. In hiring, we do a ton of profiles before we hire someone. In fact, wonderful Katrina, who we just hired because Nicole's going off to her next career, she did 3 profiles before she started and 2 right after. That's 5. Because we want her to be really confident in terms of what she's going to be doing. And we want to know what we can count on her for. And the cool thing about profiles is they put your innate strengths, talents, capabilities on paper, and they give you common language with which to talk about them. So yes, I'm definitely a fan. But even if you haven't done a single one, just pausing and stopping, take a look at your 3 best contribution experiences. It could be a job. It could be in a community organization that you're part of. It could be part of a church group or a synagogue. Something where you did something where we went, wow, that really worked. That really, really paid off. That was a win. And you got either kudos, it felt really great, it made an impact for your audience, you got paid really, really well, people asked you to do more of it. All of those things are in the positive reward side of things. So it needed to be a win for them and a win for you and a win for your final audience. So where did you bet on yourself in the past and it paid off? By the way, I hope you have taken the risk to bet on yourself sometimes. I hope you have tried something in your past that was scary, that you didn't know that you knew how to do. I hope you'll put yourself out there because the only time this doesn't work is if you've not tested yourself on the world. So I'm a big fan of encouraging kids and young adults and everyone else to just go throw yourself at the world and see what sticks. Kind of like spaghetti. That's how we learn the pluses and the minuses. And you're going to get up. You're going to try again. Now, this is not as fun, but so do it quickly so you don't stay in pain for very long. Look at your 3 worst experiences, the 3 things. And by the way, it could have been a win for the other person, but you couldn't stand it. There may have been some activities or projects or jobs or responsibilities that you took on that even if they worked out in the end, you think to yourself, if I ever have to do that again, shoot me down. Or whatever expression that you use, because it was too painful, it was far too draining, it was just not fun, or whatever success criteria you have. And then resolve to yourself to kind of never do that thing again, or get really creative about it with whom you can partner so that you don't have to. Everyone says that in every role there's something you don't like to do, but I think that's a really old way of thinking, to be perfectly honest. I think it really pays off in entrepreneurial companies for everyone to be leveraged into doing what we at Strategic Coach call unique ability or excellent ability. So that you'd love to do it and you have superior skill. That's unique ability. Or at the very minimum, you have a superior skill and you like it. Anyone doing something they either are only okay at or actually bad at, it's losing the company money. And again, this is why I want so many entrepreneurs to actually hire for themselves a phenomenal strategic support partner, because I love you, but you're terrible at certain aspects of the role. And why are you doing them? If you don't have a strategic assistant, you are one. And for most of us, we are way too highly paid for the quality of work being delivered. So again, really supporting everyone, not just you, but everyone to play to their highest and best use. Their strengths makes the most sense to me, because this whole idea, just to circle back, of betting on yourself is so exciting. To me, it's like, as part of an entrepreneurial company, we are all betting on ourselves every single day in the marketplace. We are betting that the service, the product, the experience that we're creating for people is going to create enormous value, and they're going to feel that value, and they're going to reward us by paying us for it, right? We're going to create value before we expect opportunity, but we want that to be a reciprocal relationship. We want to be rewarded for that value contribution. And that's both on the macro, on the external front stage side, but it's also on the internal backstage side. So it's really important that every single person, you, knows yourself well enough, knows where you're a great bet, knows how to tell people, you actually really don't want me doing that. That's a bad idea. I know for some reason, I think I was a pretty cocky 25-year-old, 24-year-old. Oh no, it was actually earlier, 22, when I got my first role before I joined Coach. And they actually wanted to hire me to be the receptionist, to be the admin person. And I was like, you really don't want me for that role. Now, as a 22-year-old, and when I was being hired, it was in the recession. That was a pretty nervy thing to say. And they did actually have another role. I'm like, oh, I would be much better at that role. And they were like, really? And I was like, that is what they ended up hiring me for. And I was quite successful in that role, although it still had way too much admin for my capabilities. So I worked really late a lot. It simply meant for them that I had the highest billable hours. So it wasn't a disaster, but still, that's why I was very happy to jump ship and come to Coach. That whole idea of just having the confidence to go, yes, I am really well placed to create value here. I would not create great value over there. And knowing yourself well enough to be confident in that is huge. You know, entrepreneurs bet on themselves. As companies, we bet on ourselves. So as team members, everyone needs to be able to bet on themselves as well. So I know you're a good bet. What you simply need to figure out is exactly how you are a good bet. What are the things, those environments and those situations where you thrive? You've got a ton to contribute. You have a lot of mental energy that plays out in those areas. You've got the communication skills. You've got the analytical skills, whatever it is. Where are you best placed? Where are you a really great bet? And then go there. That's how you're going to create the most value. That's how you're going to get rewarded the best. And again, this message goes from the top to the bottom of the company, or from the inside to the outside of the company, as I prefer to think about it. So bottom line, please know yourself well, review your experiences, do the profiles, Colby, Clifton Strengths, print, Enneagram if you like that one, Myers-Briggs. The Y of You is great. YOS is a new one that I really like. So do all the profiles, get to know yourself, put language around your strengths and capabilities. That will give you even greater confidence with which you can bet on yourself. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I hope it's given you something to think about. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please let us know at questions@strategiccoach.com. And again, here's to your team success.